And it's so important now when we're thinking about hiring, delegating, to think of it from a hybrid approach where, every team member should first of all have a colleague that's an AI agent. And before thinking to hire another junior employee or new employee, think about, all right, where does AI fit in that? Because obviously this is common knowledge already, right? But we all need to have it as an integral part of our companies.
You're asking yourself, why am I doing this?
Smart people would know how to use all these different tools.
You start with something small.
And never get your entire organization. If you don't pull off operations,
Don't give up.
It can be as small as that.
I think you guys are going to have our last debate.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Delegate That podcast, where we discuss the art and science of delegation, business management, and leadership. Today, I am stoked to have a good conversation with Litan Yahav. I interviewed you on the Biz Dad podcast a couple years ago. It was a great time to be able to chat with you, learn a little bit about what you have going on. So if anybody wants to dig in more, feel free to go look up the episode over there. But Litan, if you can, please go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about your business.
Sure, Adam, it's so great being here. I appreciate you having me. It's always fun talking. So background, I'm a tech founder. Before that, I was a sailing instructor. Before that, a naval officer in Israel. Started a company, sold it 10 years ago, made money, been investing that money over the past decade in private investments, passive investments. Ended up building software to manage everything we've invested in, me and my co-founder. And that scaled to be a whole new startup, which is Vyzer and what we run and operate today. That's fast. Long story short, tell me if you want me to dive into any aspect of that.
Yeah, there's a lot in there. That was definitely a long story short. So,
do you feel overwhelmed with mundane tasks that eat up your valuable time? It's time to reclaim your schedule and focus on what truly matters. Get your time back with elite remote talent without the time zone hassle. Delegate $10 an hour tasks to focus on more $1,000 an hour tasks. Schedule your free strategy call at 𝗦𝗽𝗽𝗀𝘃.io.
how did you go from kind of like naval officer to sailing instructor? I can see a correlation there, but sailing instructor to entrepreneur to tech founder. How did that leap happen for you?
Yeah, so mind you, I lived in Israel most of my life, and in Israel, you finish high school, you mandatory service, you serve anywhere between 3 to 40 years in the military. I was in for 6, and then after the military, you go travel and then go to school. And so after the military, I traveled for 7 months, South Central America, went to school. And then during my studies, I worked as a sailing instructor. I studied law and business. And then my last year of school got into an entrepreneurship program funded by Sam Zell, the legendary Sam Zell. And through that, basically started my first company. It was my second one. My first one failed, but that was my second company with my current co-founder. But we build hardware and software for photographing diamonds in 3D for the diamond industry. We talked about this last time, crazy business. And we can talk about that for hours, but we took a very old-fashioned industry, brought a cutting-edge technology to it, and then disrupted it using that tech. Every diamond in the world today is photographed with our technology. Our hardware is on all the diamond exchanges around the world. And we exited that company back in 2015. It was a nice exit. It wasn't tens of millions, but it was enough. We also had a 3-year earn-out period, meaning we had to stay on for 3 years after the exit. So we left in 2018. And then, after we left, me and my co-founder, our wives or friends or kids are the same ages. We went traveled for a couple of months and then got back. We're like, all right, what are we going to do now? And spend 2 years iterating different business ideas until we didn't plan on this, but it ended up being our next business idea because we built it for ourselves.
So I want to kind of see if there's correlation here. Now, a lot of people ask me, since I'm a prior military guy, like what sort of leadership did you learn in the military that you have applied to business, and or what sort of skills did you learn in the military? And I want to throw this over to you as somebody from a military from a different country. How did you kind of look at being a naval officer in the Israeli Navy to apply that to business? What sort of things did you learn inside of your military career that you were able to apply? What sort of leadership skills or delegation, or you pick whatever kind of fits that helped you kind of become a successful entrepreneur?
Great question. I think at least in the Israeli military, we have to make do with little. Because, as advanced Israel is from a technological standpoint, like we don't have everything to our disposal. And so there's this constant sentence that we tell ourselves and our soldiers is, this is what we have and we're going to win with this. And, it's okay to make mistakes and fail, but we still need to, the end goal is to win. And so it's a very highly I don't know the word for it in English, but you have to improvise a lot, which is just making, turning a round tube into a square like they did in the Apollo 13 movie and stuff like that. It's just like making do with what you have. So I think that's one skill that I think the Navy gave me. Second is I went through a 2-year course to be an officer in the Navy, but my soldiers were just regular, quote unquote, drafted people who did not volunteer to do that position. And the leadership aspect of leading and managing people who don't necessarily have the motivation that you have to be where they are is very eye-opening. So, motivating these people and making sure we're all aligned and, when times are tough and we're all pushed to the edge, that's where you see like real people, real grit come out. And so I'd say the skill there is just dealing with situations where it's not pain, things aren't easy all the time. And we still need to keep on pushing forward. And again, that mindset of we need to win because there's no other alternative because our lives depend on it. There's that. And, taking into account other circumstances of the environment around us, especially at sea when you can't control the environment and you just have to keep on operating in very uncomfortable situations. That's not as much important to sort of leadership, but it's more resilience to like hard situations. And there's a very strong sense, and this, and I feel this even more so when I speak with people that are ex-military in the US, because you don't feel it as much from people who weren't in the military in the US. And it's this strong sense of camaraderie and brotherhood that exists in the military that in Israeli society also goes beyond the military because everyone served in the military. And so you have this sense of camaraderie and brotherhood even afterwards. And so when you're building a company, a startup in my case, you're in the same type of like fighting or war mode because you're always like, and so when you know that you're doing this with people next to you that are all in, because this small team of people that are extremely devoted, believe in the cause and what we're trying to achieve, it's not the 9-to-5 type people. It's like the people that are like all in. We call it like their soul players, like the people that are all in with their whole soul.
There are a lot of strings I could pull on there, and I like the soul players. I'm definitely adding that to my notes to kind of think through on what that means. And as you were talking, I'm analyzing in my brain, right? You're in a situation in the military in Israel where everybody's going in regardless, right? Where when you look at the U.S. military, we're all volunteers. Everybody puts their hand up and says, "Yeah, I want to go ahead and do that." So the mindset is, I would imagine, a little bit different. So as you're building out a business, I'm looking for the folks who are putting their hands up to help get inside of this business, not the folks who are just like, "Oh yeah, I'm in this for," because I'll take the U.S. military. You have the folks who join the military for, I want to go ahead and get my GI Bill so that I can get my college paid for. I've got no problem for people to do that. I probably don't want you to go be in special forces, special operations, because your mindset is more on something other than fighting to win wars, right? So maybe I put you in somewhere in admin or do something, and I'm not saying I put you in a corner, but you have a different thought process on what you're here for than what the guy that like saw Rambo when he was in elementary school and was like, "Dude, I'm going to do that. Like that's going to be me later on." Only hopefully without the beating up all the cops and everything. So, but the actual like war hero, like I want to go in there and fight a war for my country. That's a different level of person. And when I'm looking for an employee, I'm looking for the person who's like, dude, put me in. Let's make this happen. I want this. So as you kind of start to now, I don't know how big your team is, so we'll kind of go into that now. But as you're looking at employees and you're looking at people to work for you, what sort of personality traits are you looking for that maybe you have, maybe something that I said that kind of lines up with that, or something different? What sort of personality traits are you looking for to fill the spots on your team?
I'll tell you what I'm not looking for. It's so much easier to sort of define what, like, the red flags, as opposed to, because I've had encounters with people that ended up being amazing, and I didn't see exactly what I was looking for, and so I go the other way. So if I'm hiring someone and it's really important for them to work 9 to 5 and not hear from me afterwards, like, that's just not relevant to the phase we're at. I understand, I respect it, but it's not a fit. When you can open your mind to doing multiple jobs and, helping where you're not necessarily fits your job description or your position, that's important. I usually also ask people in terms of like losing their cool, because you need a sort of like the ability to be comfortable working in stressful situations. And so I usually ask people, like, give me an example when you lost your cool in a work environment, and what triggered it, and how did you manage it? And it's a hard question because people don't really know. Like, their first response is, yeah, someone didn't deliver fast enough, or stuff like that. I mean, that's just a bad answer. Stuff like that. And in terms of, if we're talking about delegation, we're 15 people, so we're not a big company yet. And I don't want to hire people at the phase we're at that only want to manage other people. I'm not looking for people who are looking to delegate. I'm looking for people who want to do the work, because I also do the work. Like, I'm fine getting my hands dirty. The only reason I won't is if I really need to spend time on doing something that is the most important thing for me to focus on, so I can have someone else do the other stuff that I have no problem doing, but they might be something that either they're more capable of doing instead of me, and or, I just need to focus on something else. They might need to get their hands dirty on something that isn't fun to do, but they have to do it. Because I'm fine doing that as well.
So as you're in this stage and you're kind of building that out and you're getting your hands dirty, how do you know, or how do you think you're going to know when it's time for you to kind of step away from some of those hands getting dirty tasks to let somebody else do that, so that you can focus on the things that only you can do? Maybe it's big relationships, maybe it's the tech behind it, maybe it's, I don't know, but the things that only you can do. How do you know when it's time for you to fully let go of some of those other tasks so that somebody else can manage that for you?
So it's a great question as well. I had a problem at the beginning. Sort of, me and my co-founder were doing a lot of a lot, and then we had this opportunity to bring someone in who's a product guy in software, and I was sure I was doing product amazing. And then we brought him in, and I didn't even think we needed a product guy, but he was just someone like super capable. It was just the stars aligned at it, and we managed to convince him to come. And then holy shit. Like, I knew nothing about product management. This guy, because I also have this tendency to feel like I can do probably everything better than everyone else, just because it's my company. It's like, and then every time I get, slapped in the face, like, no, you don't. No, you don't. But the more mundane tasks, which is your question, I think there's a whole other level of delegation now that we should talk about, maybe for a sec. And that's delegating tasks, not to human agents, but to AI agents. And I'm sure you've spoken about that before, about delegation, like on this podcast. But
I want to hear what your thoughts are on it, for sure.
So I'll approach it from a different angle, because recently we had a one of our customer support success guys leave. We're on good terms and everything's all right, but it created a situation where he was juggling a lot of balls in the air. And now that he's gone, it's like, damn, all right, what do we do fast? And then, well, we can hire someone else. We can transfer some of his tasks to other people in the organization. We can take some of them to us, or we can see maybe there's an opportunity here to increase our AI capabilities in the company, so that we can just delegate those things to an AI to do it. And it's kind of, if you're not with your back against the wall, we might not have even gone down that rabbit hole. But going down that rabbit hole was amazing because it improved our AI capabilities from a customer support standpoint, like 5x. And it's so important now when we're thinking about hiring, delegating, to think of it from a hybrid approach where, every team member should first of all have a colleague that's an AI agent. And before thinking to hire another junior employee or new employee, think about, all right, where does AI fit in that? Because obviously this is common knowledge already, right? But we all need to have it as an integral part of our companies.
I think it's common for folks who are thinking about it, but too many people aren't yet. So feel free to keep on going on that. Because I think that a lot of people think AI is not for their business. Maybe it's whatever. I was just interviewing a guy on the last on our last podcast where he was talking about how they set up AI strictly for Facebook messages coming in for property management. Right. A lot of people in property management are going to think that's not where they're going. Like you're in a tech company. So people are like, oh yeah, this tech guy, of course he's using AI. Property management company can be using AI. So, I love the idea of having that AI assistant instead of hiring a junior employee.
First of all, you need to talk with a good friend of mine who's a founder of a tech startup that does property management called 𝗍𝗫. They're called 𝗍𝗫 Living. Oh, if you want, yeah, we can talk about this offline. But their whole company is an AI-based company. So that's a good example of like a place where AI is already being implemented to its deepest levels. Now, when I think about, and forget about what's happening today, like we need to prepare the foundation in our companies for the future. And the future isn't 10 years from now. It's a year, 2, 3. It's like it's here. And if we don't evolve, someone else is going to evolve into being that and taking it from us. And because that's life, right? And so, yeah, people think about AI today in the ChatGPT manner, like let's use it to write emails or post on LinkedIn or Facebook. But it's so much, it can be so much more than that because at the end of the day, it's a brain. Like the other day I was talking about, I've been using, ChatGPT, Gemini, and Grok simultaneously now and treating each of them as a person. Just like each of them has a different brain. Each of them was educated in a different manner, trained on different experiences, right? But each of them they have a brain. Now, how do we use that brain to accomplish different tasks that we have in our organization? One of them might be really good for answering support. One of them might be really good for writing posts. One of them might be really good for answering emails. There's so many other things, or making phone calls, or doing sales calls, or like real estate investors that are trying to buy houses, like automating that whole process of setting, closing, and analyzing. It's just there's so many things. The sky's the limit. And it's also really important to emphasize the difference between, like in the AI world, there's a bot and there's an agent. A bot is like, yeah, you're chatting with something that's giving a response, right? An agent is an actual person like AI that's doing a job end to end. There can be a human in the loop. Like, for example, my friend with 𝗍𝗫 Living, he was telling me about his sort of support process. And he has an agent that receives incoming communications from tenants. And then it already knows how to respond. But if it doesn't know how to respond, it asks a team member, a human team member, hey, I'm dealing with this situation. I want to confirm before replying, do you think this is okay? Just like a junior employee would do, right? You hire someone new and exact same manner. And then what happens when that sequence happens, that AI now learned from the other human, what is the best way to respond? And then it can, at the end of the day, be good enough to trust itself, or the team can trust it to close the whole cycle around different specific situations. Anyway, I'm blabbering, but that's like, I think it's just like, yeah, man, if you're not thinking about delegating to AI, you're not going to be around soon.
Yeah, you're missing the boat for sure. I'm in the middle of trying to chase a wire problem on my project truck, and it's insane to just sit there and have a conversation with AI. And it's like, hey, yeah, you have a wiring issue between this section and this section. It comes probably from this pin over here that does this thing. And I was like, holy gracious. And then sure enough, I go to that spot, fix the problem. And I'm like, oh, thanks. And now amplify that to what you can do. Like that's a simple task of just chasing a wire. And now when you're talking about what it can do to actually earn you money and build your business, like you better be using it like constantly. I just learned about N8N yesterday on a podcast, right? And I was like, so last night I was playing with it until like 1 o'clock in the morning, trying to have it do some things for me because I want to stay ahead of that. And I think everybody listening, you better be staying ahead of those types of things to really figure out how you can use these things to help your business.
Just one point, because it's funny because it relates to the other podcast, which is around kids. So my son came to me about delegating access in a sense. My son came to me yesterday, asked, hey, the hoverboard, he has a hoverboard and it's not charging. And what do you think I should do? And I'm like, here's ChatGPT, go ask it how to solve it. Like try to figure it out. And he keeps on asking me, no, keep that. I mean, I'm here to help, but like, you need to get used to figuring it out by leveraging all this brain power that's out there. So anyway, that's like
for sure.
Yeah.
No, I love that. Yeah. And I need to do a better job of that because my brain wants to problem solve so quickly. And some of the problems are so easy. It's just like, oh yeah, just go do this. And I'm like, no, Adam, you are taking away the agency of your kids to be able to learn how to solve those problems. Don't do it. It's a constant reminder because that's the way my brain wants to go. But I want to rewind a tiny bit in our conversation where we talked about, you hired the product guy and then mentioned like, okay, well, you want to talk about the mundane tasks. And I'd really like to talk about the delegation on both of those things, right? So when we're in a position, especially as a founder, as the startup guy, as you know, and you said that you and your partner were doing everything, it's easy for us to get in that mode of, I know all of this stuff better than anybody else. But once you realized that the person that you hired for the product was way better and basically made it look like you didn't know anything about product stuff, right? Was that a trigger in your brain to go, boy, I need to hire 7 more of these guys to like fill all these other gaps? Or how did you kind of take that as it struck your brain as like, wow, this guy really knows what the heck he's doing?
Well, first of all, it hits you that even though I've been working on my own personality for the past 15 years on not being motivated by ego and rather be motivated by what moves the needle. So every time I feel like, oh no, nothing is egocentric. Everything is, and then it hits me again. So I feel like it's shipping on that, and it's a good thing that's shipping on that. So yeah, definitely. Just every time that happens, you feel more comfortable saying to yourself, "There's someone else who's going to do this better than me." And then for us in a startup, it's always about, do I delegate? Well, sometimes you just can't because we're a lean startup, and you can't just like keep on delegating. And then I don't know if you I assume you heard of that there was this whole trend on X or Twitter on founder mode. Do you hear about that? The Airbnb founder sort of wrote something about founder mode and how founders cannot afford to delegate, or not to the extent like you can't. People tell you have to find the different positions to put people in those positions, but sometimes you have to be in founder mode. And founder mode is no, like you need to be in everything, and you need to be involved in everything, and you need to make sure that things are happening, and you can't delegate fully. And I think in the startup world, it's a constant, push and pull on that founder mode mentality. So even though there are people that can do the job 100 times better than me, a lot of times I really need to be involved in it. Number one, because maybe financially, I just can't delegate it. Or number two, I can't afford for anyone to miss anything, because time is money in my world. And if I miss something, or something that happens in the wrong way that we weren't imagining, or won't push the company in the right direction, I need to be involved. So it's a very thin line between delegating and being in founder mode, I'd say. But definitely after that moment of hiring this product guy, I felt a lot more comfortable hiring more people that we really needed to level up our game. And we knew that isn't the best place for us to focus our energy. And now we're back in that place where we're thinking now in terms of like this customer success person who left. Same thing now I'm in, right? Do we delegate it to AI? Do we do it ourselves? Or do we hire another person to do it? It doesn't even necessarily come from the place where I think I can do it better. It more comes from the place from financial
And that's a critical thing for us to think about as we're building these out. I mean, it's not like not every founder is backed by a PE firm that throws a bunch of money at them that they can pay for these people to come in. Like you're in that founder mode because you need to create everything. So it is a process. That's why I'm trying to figure out, and I don't know if there's ever a right answer to it, but there is that fine line. Like, when do I finally let go and cross over to the other side and say, hey, you've got that now. I've delegated those tasks that were solely me, and now I can focus on other stuff. So
I have another might be interesting, might be stupid insight on that. There's the like, what's the one thing, right, that we need to focus on, and then if that one thing depends on me to do, then anything that's not that one thing, we either don't do or we find someone to delegate to, and then it forces you to delegate or decide that you're just not doing it. And so I think that focus has helped us decide whether to delegate or not, or whether or not to do it. So it always comes down to focusing on like what needs to be done, what are the jobs to be done, what's the one thing that will move the needle. We don't always know what it is. That's the biggest problem. But it also helps us understand, do we delegate or do we not do it?
I'll tell you what won't help you figure out what it is: not doing anything, though. So you always have to be moving the ball forward some way, shape, or form. Sometimes you realize you kicked the ball backwards, but it will eventually get you to the goal. So you got to figure out where it is, and the only way to do that is to keep moving. So where is your company now? How are you growing? What are you trying to push out to both your consumers, the people, your customers, as well as your team on where you're trying to grow?
So if you remember sort of the military story of like motivating and pushing forward and winning, it's very similar in a startup life as well. We've been operating this for 4.5 years, and it isn't always, fun and nice and going in the directions we want. And so that is also, motivating the team to keep on pushing forward. So times have been difficult, times have been amazing, times have been difficult, and that can be in the same day. So it's a roller coaster. Currently, we're laser focused on growing the company in a new direction, which we've been focused on the past couple months, which is leveraging our AI to be the AI copilot for wealth managers and multifamily offices. So taking a more B2B approach, leveraging our product, data, and team to serve a adjacent industry, which is more B2B. And this has been something that I've been told by both the industry and my investors from day one, but I've been very focused on the customer. And I think being focused on the customer has helped us build an amazing product experience for the customer, the individual investor, the high net worth family. Because at the end of the day, serving these businesses, these wealth management firms, and telling them, listen, I know what your client needs because I've been serving them for the past couple of years, managing tens of billions for thousands of people and families. And then focusing now on leveraging that to bring you to the next level and building this AI copilot that links in all data points to help them serve their clients better and grow their business. For them to delegate access to us as opposed to hiring more staff, for example.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. It's almost building their own personal family office. It's kind of helping manage some of that for them. Is that kind of how you envision this growing? Yeah,
well, I look at it, and this might not make sense at the beginning, but I'll happy to elaborate. I look at it, you're familiar with Waymo, the autonomous vehicles, and then there's Uber, right? Now, Waymo has a consumer-facing aspect to it, right? You can get on the Waymo app and you can order a Waymo. Or, Uber is doing this with another company now, but they tried this out back in the day where you can order an Uber X, but you can also order a Waymo. And the customer is the same customer, but they can decide go through the Uber, which is the distribution channel, or the Waymo direct. We see ourselves as the Waymo, like the autonomous finance, and the Uber being the financial advisors and wealth managers that I can. So, you can come to us directly, Waymo, or you can come to us through the advisor, the Uber model, and both are plausible outcomes. Both can work. There are customers who want to go through Waymo and the customers who want to go through Uber because they prefer the holistic distribution approach. So that's the way we see it from a vision standpoint.
No, it's really cool. There on a side note on the Waymo thing, I just saw a post on Facebook that had like this guy that put his baby in a Waymo and was like, "Oh, for two working parents, this is like such a godsend that I can just send my baby to my wife on the other side." And I was like, "Are you kidding me right now?" So, yeah, not putting my baby inside of a Waymo. So, nothing to do with the topic at hand. Just thought it was comical that popped up, but. Insane. But I
have you taken a Waymo before?
I have not. No, so I don't have them around here. I'm in Florida and I don't have them here at the moment. So I would imagine it is very uncomfortable.
Yes, it's mind blowing. It's not. I was in Phoenix for a 𝗀𝗀 event and took a Waymo a couple of times, dude. It's like holy crap, and it's nice. Yeah, it's pretty mind blowing.
It feels like it would be uncomfortable. Like the first time I saw somebody, like the first time I sat in the back of a Tesla and the person put their hands down and I was like, well, this is odd. I don't know. And I started getting off the highway and stuff. It's like, yep, still not sure about this. I don't know, but that's the hard part about new technology is there are some people like me that are very sensitive to jumping on the new technology, and other people that are like, the only way that we get new technology is by people jumping on it and making it happen. So I love that you are taking an innovative approach to this and trying to give people better access, better understanding of their financial picture and growing themselves at the same time. So I love what you're doing. So if somebody's hearing this and they're like, hey, I really want to learn more about Vyzer, I want to reach out to Litan, what's the best way for folks to get a hold of you?
Yeah, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, Facebook, Litan Yahav. Vyzer is 𝗺𝗲𝗀𝗀𝘀𝗀. And, either go to our website, drop an email, Litan@Vyzer, or LinkedIn, Facebook, pretty active on all those.
Very good. Awesome. Well, if you're listening to this and you're like, man, I'd love to learn more about what Litan's got going on over at Vyzer, please reach out to him. He is awesome, obviously, as you can hear, to talk to, very knowledgeable and being able to help you out. The platform is fantastic that he's got going on over there. So Litan, thank you very much for jumping on. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Please comment below. Let us know what your favorite part was. Subscribe, share with somebody that you think is going to get some value out of this, and we will see everybody on the next show.